Assalamu alaikum. So, good afternoon. We are late in our session, so we'll have only 10 minutes for each precious presenter with us. We have 5 speakers from different countries, and we will start with Mrs. Ayesha HANIF, talking about pandemic and urban life, and she is assistant professor from the Institute of Administrative Sciences in the University of the Punjab. So please, you can start.
Okay, thank you. Can I have my PowerPoint presentations there?
Sunumunu başlatabiliriz.
Presentations.
Sunumunu.
Yeah.
Ayşe Hanım'ın sunumu.
Okay, thank you.
Ayesha HANIF.
Ayesha HANIF. Well, good morning and assalamu alaikum to everybody. It's, first of all, I must say it's a great opportunity to be here with all of you, with all the learned community gathered around the world. And I'm also thankful to the organizing committee for giving me an opportunity to attend the Kartepe summit. Well, I'm from Pakistan, and I'll be talking about how Pakistan has actually managed COVID-19, the strategies of governance adopted by the current government to mitigate, to combat the COVID-19. Briefly going through, COVID-19 has indeed become a new normal, and to cope with this global pandemic, all the nations have taken steps and formulated strategies accordingly. Pakistan has also taken steps to cope with the loss caused by the pandemic, as well as made strategies to adjust the social lives of people in terms of employment, social aid, and poverty. What the paper aims is to bring in notice of the world the situation in terms of poverty, unemployment, and social aids during the pandemic in Pakistan, and strategies the government of Pakistan has adopted to cope up with the situation. Included in those strategies like smart lockdown, that has become, actually the government of Pakistan coined this term and strategy known as smart lockdown, which has been globally appreciated as well. Globally appreciated by World Bank, globally appreciated by Bill Gates, who was in Pakistan in the last days. Smart online education system, launching of socialist programs to help the poor financially. The paper aims to highlight the situation caused by COVID-19, strategies opted in response to it, and finally concluding with the suggestions for improving the strategies. Situation in Pakistan, just briefly go through with the help of statistics. The very first case of COVID-19 in Pakistan was discovered on February 26, 2020. It's almost been 2 years. And the total number of deaths so far on February 4, 2022, I have mentioned this date because the day I was finalizing my paper, that was February 4, 2022. So that's why I made it as a last deadline to notify the cases of deaths in Pakistan due to COVID-19 are 29,330. Confirmed cases are this, and recovered cases are this. The ongoing 5th wave of Omicron in Pakistan, and so far on February 4th, 2022, number of positive cases were this, and with the positive ratio of this. But now, as of today, in the month of March, the cases are declining. The number of cases being reported are declining rapidly, which is a good situation. Some graphical representation. These are the total cases, starting with 2020, ending at 2022, gradually rising, decreasing, rising, decreasing. But now the fashion going on in Pakistan, now the cases are again in decline. This is the graphical representation of daily new cases, starting again from February 15, 2020 to January 15, 2022. By the way, Pakistan is maintaining a website by NCOC, in which the cases being reported are daily monitored, daily uploaded, and in the light of those cases, in the light of that real-time data, the policies of government are being formulated. The policies of smart lockdown or the otherwise is being formulated with the help of the real-time data given by the government. The website of NCOC, that is National Command and Operation Control. Situation in Pakistan, these are the total number of deaths. Deaths were highest in January 2020, and again they got peaked in November 2021, but now again they are in the following trend. These are the total deaths versus total recoveries in Pakistan. The red is showing the total deaths, but the good point is the total recoveries are going on in good ratio as compared to total deaths. Impact on Pakistan's economy, that is I think, the COVID-19, which has caused catastrophe in entire world, that is in terms of economy, and Pakistan therefore is no point of exception. Overall economic growth in Pakistan contracted to minus 0.47% in 2019-2020, when it already had weak economic growth of just 1.9% in the prior year. The COVID-19 further compounded long-standing challenges, especially in the industrial and services sector. And industries and services sector, I believe, all around the world, they got affected because of COVID-19, and Pakistan has faced jeopardizing consequences because it is already a developing state. But still, not even with this being developing, Pakistan has faced very successfully, the government of Pakistan has formulated very efficient strategies to combat its effect on economy. Manufacturing sector, especially the exporters, faced difficulties due to the decline in demand for imports from Pakistan and other developing countries. Moreover, small, especially freelance entrepreneurs have struggled as supply chains dried up, leaving them without products or essential materials. The pandemic crisis severely affected the services sector like hotels, restaurants. They were not opened. Marquees, marriage ceremonies got delayed, got postponed, got cancelled. Wedding halls and marquees, which has the biggest share in the economy in Pakistan, due to the closure of services sector, wholesale and retail trade, as well as transport sector also got affected. Additionally, the platform economy workers, like those providing transportation in Pakistan, just like in all other countries, we have at one phone call taxi service known as Uber and Careem, delivery of items through Bikeia, those who use motorcycles, motorbikes to provide some small items from door to door or to give some kind of conveyance. They all got affected, and domestic workers like Mocha, Ghar Par, and all significantly affected, got locked down, got affected by the lockdown. Pakistan Bureau of Statistics is an organization which regularly conducts the researches, which regularly gathers data and performs statistical analysis to come to know what is the general trend of economy going on. So Pakistan Bureau of Statistics also conducted a survey to understand the effect of COVID on economy. I'll not be presenting the results of the entire survey. I'll try to just give you a glance of the findings of the survey. Has conducted a very special survey for evaluating impact of COVID-19 on well-being of people to provide representative results at national and provincial level. Yes, that's a very good point. Pakistan Bureau of Statistics didn't conduct results only at one province or only at one location. It tried to gather the results and generalize it on the entire Pakistan, applicable on entire provinces of Pakistan, 4 provinces of Pakistan. Pakistan is a big state. To inform government about the effects of pandemic on employment, food security, and general well-being of the population for informed decision-making. That is the some graphical representation. Working population which got affected, that was 27.31 million. Job loss, couldn't work due to lockdown, 20.6 million. Decrease in income of 6.7 million. So the situation is it was very discouraging in the beginning when the complete lockdown was imposed. That is again graphical representation of the impact of Pakistan's economy, distribution of affected workers by job status. Regular paid employees with fixed wage, 19% got affected. For example, paid workers by piece rate, they were 15% got affected. And 2% employers were affected. Agricultural workers, 3% got affected. For the detail of the results, you can visit that Pakistan Bureau of Statistics and you can have a view on, it is a very good survey conducted for the informed policy making to see what the entire havoc has been caused by the COVID on the economy of Pakistan in terms of work, in terms of economy, in terms of GDP, in terms of per capita income, etc. That is again from the Bureau of Statistics, impact of Pakistan economy, distribution of affected working population by industry. Manufacturing industries, 26% got affected. Construction, 20% got affected. Transport storage, 17% got affected. Wholesale and retail trade, 16% affected. Community, social and personal services, 11% affected, so on and so forth. Now the question is, What were the administrative measures being taken by the government of Pakistan to mitigate the effects of COVID-19, especially in terms of economy? As I have just mentioned, that Pakistan is a developing nation. Being a developing nation where more than half population is living below the poverty line, they cannot afford complete lockdown. They cannot afford to completely stay inside the houses, as government is not having enough resources to distribute to them. So the very first strategy, which was the very first debate, was between lives and livelihoods. And to strike a balanced approach, smart lockdown, the concept of smart lockdown was introduced by the government of Pakistan. Before going to that, let me see the administrative measures. Formation of National Command and Operations Center, as I have just told you, NCOC. You can Google it on your laptops, and you can see the website. This is giving you the real-time information about the number of cases being reported on daily basis. What are the vaccination status being going on in the country in different provinces. This is a very active, real-time website. And that is actually a mode of providing a sort of informed decision-making, evidence-based policy-making, if I relate it with the public administration, with the theory of the public administration. 3 tasks define the functioning of NCOC, let me tell you. First, using the robust data and technology to draw insights from it. Second, clear and effective public messaging and behavioral change communication, all kind of SOPs, all kind of instructions being given to the different sectors of the society, academics or industry. They are clearly laid down in the website of NCOC. Third, ensuring coherent and cohesive governance to ensure consistency and predictability in the national response. One best thing of NCOC is that it is not only at federal level, it is quite pluralistic in its form. It is composed of political representatives from all the provinces, representation from federal government, as well as representation from the other stakeholders like army. So everybody has an opportunity and has a platform to give the opinion on how to mitigate or how to control the COVID-19 effects. This is the administrative measure, which has been proven very successful because it gives you anytime the real-time data on the situation of COVID going on in Pakistan, provinces-wise. Next is smart lockdown. As I told you, that is just to maintain a balance between lives and livelihoods. Smart lockdown, the concept of smart lockdown was introduced, which has been globally recognized. And actually, in easy terms, I tell you that instead of shutting down entire country or entire city or entire province, given according to the statistics by the NCOC, only those areas were put under lockdown, micro lockdown, where the reported cases were high, where there was chances of high pandemic spread. Just to break the transmission cycle, only those cities were under lockdown, not the entire country, not the entire town, not the entire province, and which has been proven very successful. That is when after complete lockdown and economy and livelihood of people were in danger zone, then government introduced smart lockdown, which means closing or slowing down particular commercial, academic, and or transport activities in provinces, cities, areas, depending on the rate of spread of infection with a view to contain this COVID-19 by breaking the transmission cycle. Whereas in complete lockdown, there was no intercity transport, total flights were suspended, total schools were closed. In opposite to complete lockdown, in smart lockdown, only the areas where the danger is high, they were put under closure, or they were slowed down, not entirely closed. Because as I told you, Pakistan cannot afford to go under complete lockdown because of its poor economy, because over there, the labor class, the worker class, they cannot afford to have complete lockdown given the meager resources. The logical, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, you can resume. If you can resume in 1 minute, please. Yeah. We still have 1 minute.
Okay, fine. I'll just go. Digital education, just like in the entire world, Pakistan was also following the online education model. The concept of teleschool was launched. Teleschool was a free channel on the television through which the education was disseminated to the school years, to the school students. Vaccination in Pakistan is going very successful. Very important point is social aids by government. The policy on economy under this, Kafalat Program, Benazir Income Support Program, ESAS Emergency Cash Program, all these programs were introduced by the government for the very first time in the history to help those who are severely affected by the COVID. These are the other ones. In the interest of time, I'll just mention a few. COVID-19 telehealth portal, launching of helpline, community mobilization. Well, this is the nutshell which I want to tell you, the governance strategies which were introduced to combat the effect of COVID in light of public administration theories followed these models. E-governance, that is NCOC, new public governance, participatory governance and civic engagement, like Tiger Force was introduced, in which the government of Pakistan invited all the citizens to participate on voluntary basis to spread the awareness regarding the program, to help the poor, to help the needy. Evidence-based policy making, which is the very latest thing in the theory of public administration, that is again in the light of NCOC. Whatever NCOC used to give, the education schools and educational institutions used to follow that the principles of closing down schools or opening on staggered basis. Welfare governance, that is again the economic agenda, which will be given again in detail by Dr. Javaria, I guess. Collaborative and network governance, that is not only government, rather the private organizations, the non-governmental organizations, the academics, everyone came across and joined hands to improve the strategies of the government to control the COVID-19. Conclusion is this, that what I have concluded is that instead of only one NCOC, there could be several organizations working at the provinces level, that in the form of PCOC, that is provincial, so that they can also follow the 18th Amendment in its true spirit. And strong emphasis on voluntary participation, like participation of non-pharmacological intervention compliance, religious scholars. There can be various policy recommendations to ease the burdens on MSMEs included in the protection, like information accuracy, boosting economy, income, etc. And this is the last one. The interconnected nature of COVID-19 crisis demands an integrated approach and coordination between all stakeholders to handle the pandemic, as well as the alignment of the policies with the challenges. It is not just a task of government. Everybody has to come on the scene and play its role to fight the effects of COVID-19. That's all from me.
Thank you, Dr. Ayesha, for this interesting Pakistani experience. And we are going to listen to our next speaker, Mr. Zulfikar Dinar, Wahidayat PUTRA. He will be talking about the framework of grassroots initiatives development in handling social services during COVID-19 pandemic. And he is from Gajah Mada University from Indonesia. Yep. So please, we have only 10 minutes.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I feel really important as a big company CEO in this stage, so thank you so much for the committee to make it happen. Applause from the committee. Yes, I think there's delay in the translation. Okay, so I am Zulfikar. I'm a lecturer in Gajah Mada University, and currently I am also a PhD candidate in the UCL London. And right now I want to share with you a case study from Yogyakarta, Indonesia. And it's related to grassroots or community initiative in that city. And it's related to educational services when the government cannot handle all the formal education needs in the city. So this is our outline for today. And the background is that our cities right now has complex problems because of urbanization and unpredicted problems like climate change, COVID-19, and also maybe war. And that has impact our quality of life of our city, like slums, educational services, and etc. And then the government in the Yogyakarta city in Indonesia, we have like issue to handle all of this impact of urbanization, so that it's clearly that grassroots community handle some of the government's duties to address this complex problem. In this case, the educational services. And so, but we don't have enough understanding how these grassroots initiatives began, emerge, develop in our cities, because we usually neglect such actions, whereas that actions contribute to our cities, to our quality of life and resilience. So this in objective, using a case called Marginal School Community in Yogyakarta City, Indonesia, I tried to investigate the stakeholder interactions and the outcomes of the initiatives with these two questions related to the stakeholder interaction and the outcomes of the initiatives. So to give you context, this is the case study. So this is Indonesia. We are in here, I think, yes. It's Turkey, and Turkey to Indonesia, maybe 6-8 hours by plane. And this is the Yogyakarta area, and this is the location of that marginal school community. It is located in a slums area where most of the local inhabitants are informal waste pickers or scavengers. And they have volunteers, they interact with external organizations like NGOs, community, and etc. And this is my method. We gathered 34 respondents survey and see the stakeholder analysis of this interaction and the survey analysis. So this is the interaction that is currently happening within these grassroots initiatives. So if you see this legend, we have this committee of the initiatives and also the parents of the students that is in the slums area complex. And they have like bidirectional interactions, they have dialogue, they have discussion to permit the committee to have a project in their area and to interact with the students, which is their children. And then they have the volunteers here, and both of them connect with the students. And then they also have the informal setters, the local inhabitants, and they also keep in touch with them if there's anything bad can happen. So they anticipate conflicts, they anticipate bad things to happen, especially in a low educational inhabitants in that slum area. And they also network with external organizations, NGOs, communities, universities, and they directly interact with the students also. So imagine that students, they not only have support from the teacher, like formal education service that we now see, but also beyond the teacher, the volunteers and the NGOs, local communities, universities all takes part to have a contribution to the future of this younger generation. And can you guess the government institution is? It's in there. Their interest is low, but their power is high. So this is an issue in this kind of grassroots initiative interaction, because mostly in this situation, government not really contributing to this kind of approach. So this is the challenge in this research, and I like to introduce a perspective, alternative perspectives to build, develop our cities from the grassroots perspective, not solely from the government's perspective. So this is the stakeholders' perspectives on the outcomes, on the tangible outcome that can be seen by our eyes. And they really think that the new learning venue really have a good outcome for these initiatives. And this learning venue contribute to the study of the children. They can properly study in there. And also these initiatives expand not only educational services, but also health services, environmental services for the slums area. So it's beyond the formal educational services. And this what grassroots initiatives can share to our cities. And by that results, I like to develop a theorem related to grassroots development that can be used for government, NGOs, or practitioners to intentionally use this kind of initiatives to develop and contribute positive for our cities. So first, we have the initiative development, and then we have the stakeholder interaction, like I said before. And this all begin with non-spatial aspect. We discuss like this, we interact with each other, we share ideas, we exchange knowledge, information, and we share our idealism, principles, and future dreams. And then it comes to a tangible outcomes, like this venue. The committee has planned to have a really great summit, and they book this venue, this nice venue, these tangible things, these spatial aspects that help us to shape our way of work and to help us to achieve our ultimate goals, which is to connect ideas, to implement initiatives. And that's also what grassroots initiative did. And then...
Sorry, we still have 2 minutes.
Okay. And then these tangible outcomes end with intangible outcomes, which is the end goals of the initiative itself. And I'd like to reflect it to our local condition. What happens then in Kocaeli metropolitan? So from the world to local experience, from Yogyakarta to local experience. And this is happened last night. We ride a bus. This is in Gesbe. It's in Marmaray Station. And you see that lots of people want to go to Izmit. But look at that. The bus, so small, limited space. And still there are lots of people like, it's not resilient at all. Because we have COVID. And imagine that disaster happens maybe at that time. And what happened? And this is all normal people. What about the disabled people or people with special needs, like we discussed in the morning? So this proof that this kind of framework maybe is needed for our future need, because government can handle everything in this complex world, in these complex cities. So we need a grassroots-based mobility planning approach in the future, like car sharing maybe. Kocaeli can partner with Uber or local car sharing programs, something like that, to have better alternative for public transport for the cities, maybe. And there is always left behind. As SDG said, no one left behind. No, we have still so many left behind in this. So people still left behind to go to Izmit in 9 o'clock in the night and in the freezing night. And yeah, this can be handled by maybe grassroots initiatives. So our cities can be smarter and resilient. And finally, this 435 bus help us, but still there are people left behind because it's still limited space. Okay. So this is the takeaway. So generally, maybe urban planners and city governments can wisely adopt grassroots approach, grassroots initiatives, community initiatives to contribute to the cities, to contribute to more smart and resilient cities. Thank you so much. That's from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Zulfikar, for this important experience. And now we'll be with Dr. Javaria NASIR from the University of Agricultural, Faisalabad, Pakistan. And she will be talking about the socio-economic impact assessment of COVID-19 and economic stimulus package on low-income household in Pakistan. So please, in 10 minutes.
Sure.
Time is yours.
Thanks, Dr. Khaled. I'm Dr. Javaria from University of Agriculture, Faisalabad. It's really a great honor to attend such a prestigious platform or summit. I want to share the experience of Pakistan about the socioeconomic impact assessment of COVID-19 on low-income households. And as Dr. Ayesha mentioned that Pakistan government has good success during the pandemic years, and we are a developing country, but we are again successful during the pandemic years. But here's a brief sequence of my presentation. And around 4 billion people lack access to critical health care according to the WHO and World Bank. And more than 80% are in the developing world. There is poverty and inequality in developing world, and Pakistan also affected badly by poverty and inequality largely. And during COVID-19, poor and marginalized vulnerable groups are disproportionately affected by the impacts. And Pakistan poor people face numerous challenges, starting from food, financial constraints, and at last they even face the job loss conditions in several areas. Here is the framework about the cities and COVID-19 pandemic. But during pandemic, we also find new avenues about the digitalization and e-commerce that was not very much well aware in Pakistani business community. But COVID-19, we can see clearly the blue skies even in very industrial cities of Pakistan, and at large management and governance. We are not, being a developing nation, that much successful in better governance and management. But during COVID, as Dr. Ayesha showed you, that Pakistan formulated the NCOC and it works really well. And after that, the transportation and urban design facilities. But today, I just want to share the socioeconomic impacts of COVID-19. And here is the framework of World Bank. And they just describe the direct and indirect impacts. And those impacts could be further segregated in short-run and long-run effects. I really want to describe the short-run effects of COVID-19 on very poor communities in Pakistan. During COVID-19, we can clearly see that we cannot contribute much to achieve the sustainable development goals. And in the presence of poverty and hunger, we can't talk about the resilience or sustainability largely. And in Pakistan, poverty rate has risen from 4.4 to 5.4% in 1 year. So that is a really great challenge for Pakistan government to cope with. And we can clearly see that the COVID time period drastically affect the economic activities in Pakistan. You can see that after COVID, the GDP growth rate declines sharply, and it again regains certain growth rate, but at one point it just was negative. And we have a decline in per capita income. And being economists, the major challenge for the economy is the rising inflation in the presence of unemployment. So you can see that CPI is quite high and unemployment is also greater. And in this research, we just try to analyze the impact on income and consumption patterns of poor community or marginalized communities. Those communities are comprised of the daily workers who have no permanent sort of incomes and they are under the poverty line. And after that, we want to analyze the government stimulus package effectiveness, how they contribute in the income and livelihoods of those poor communities. And at last, we want to see the perception of those marginalized communities about the COVID-19. So this was conducted in the industrial city of Pakistan, and we interviewed the 300 respondents, and we selected those respondents by the survey was conducted, and 300 sample size was collected, and PCA and the mean comparison method was utilized to analyze the data sets. You can clearly see that there is only single earner in the 300 data set. Our mean is only 1.2, and might be there are certain people who have no earner in their whole family and during the COVID time period, and they are not that much educated. And you can see that education is only 6 years of schooling they had, and their monthly income is only $111. Or the result described that the income and expenditures are drastically affected and they are very significant. So we can see that from the 300 sample size, all the respondents have decrease in their income and they increase the food expenditure and health expenditure during COVID-19. It could be, the expenditure approach could be a little bit tricky because of the inflation. You can see that food and health expenditures are increasing during these time periods, but it might be due to the price rise in that time period. And the expenditures on education, transportation was reduced, or because there was no school opening at that time period. So we can see that in such a alarming situation, government of Pakistan takes certain steps and they contribute to help those communities, and they just have some cash payments, and they deliberately given the $75 to each eligible family. And in the relief package, they also consider the unemployed industrial workers, and they also put certain subsidies in the energy sector for all those communities who have no income and they were under the poverty line. So data describe that the beneficiaries of this SARS package or economic stimulus package, the beneficiaries' income and consumption both increased due to this help during the COVID time period, and that is also statistically significant. After that, we can also see the perception of these marginalized people about COVID-19. We have a qualitative survey about different factors, and we can clearly see the results. The KMO value just described that data was enough for the analysis, and you can see the factor analysis also described that socioeconomic factors are the most important for those people, and they care about their life, health, and income especially. After that, they also consider the work and life amenities, but they are very much concerned about the health and income of their households.
2 minutes.
Okay, sure.
Remaining.
Thank you. The adoption of precautionary measures was also very well known to those people. They are not that much educated, but they know the adoption of precautionary measures and institutional factors that might help them during the COVID-19. So we can describe that the socioeconomic indicators are affected badly during the COVID-19, and the beneficiaries of stimulus package largely have higher income and consumption in Pakistan. And the mass media and digitalization also play important role to cope with the situation, and they also make the societies very well aware. So you can conclude that the government must be vigilant to eradicate the poverty and to decrease the inequality in the society, and collective efforts of awareness regarding preventive measures were workable and effective to fight with such a pandemic that is very detrimental. All the mitigation and adoption effects must be incorporated in the process way, and only the policies that policymakers adopt or formulate or try to implement, they will not have a penetration if they are not formulated with the consultation of all the stakeholders. So all the effective policies must be formulated with the consultation of stakeholders and utilizing the knowledge and data tools, and ultimately the engagement with all the stakeholders, especially the people who are affecting by those policies largely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Javaria. Thank you very much. Now our next speaker it will be Eduardo Ilusha Fernandez from the University of Murcia, Spain. And his title is Enhancing Data Quality of Fine-Grain Measurements in Nanoparticles Hyperlocal Air Quality Stations to Measure the Impact of Climate Change and Urban Health. So please.
Presentations, and I'm really glad to be here in this exciting event. So I would like to thank to the committee to make this possible. And well, let me present. My name is Eduardo Ilusha Fernandez, and I am a PhD student at the University of Murcia, and I will present the work that we have performed funded by the Seneca Foundations and Hope Ubiquitous, a Spanish company that works in the sector of smart cities and IoT device. So, starting for the beginning, I will draw a whole picture of the situations, and I will try to explain why are nanoparticles important in resilience and smart cities. Let's see this diagram. The process starts with emissions. Emissions related to traffic, industry, or other anthropogenic activities, and these emissions produce concentrations in the atmosphere. These concentrations are the values of several pollutants that citizens are exposed to. So these concentrations has an impact on the city, an impact on the health of the citizens, that these impacts has a cost, and the municipal authorities has to take some measurements or make decisions and take some policy markers in order to start again the diagram and reduce these emissions in order to reduce the impacts on the city. So in this process, the real-time monitoring of concentration is really important, especially of nanoparticles. These are a kind of pollutant that has several health effects on the citizens, so they are so important. So for some reason I can go down. Can you put the presentation in the maybe if you can in presentation mode in full screen, it should work.
Tam ekran yapalım diyor.
Yeah. So
it's full screen, he says.
Yes. So maybe can you go down for the
Aşağı inelim o zaman. Fotoğraf tam görünüyor mu?
now. Yes, perfect.
Yes, tamam.
Okay, thanks. So nowadays there are a set of devices that can measure this kind of nanoparticles. These devices are based on light scattering, and this is a technology that quantifies the number of particles in function of light scattering. This approach has several problems. For example, there are some deviations due to high humidity conditions. So to overcome this problem, there are a lot of work done in the machine learning and artificial intelligence area. So a bit of the problem of the humidity. The problem is that the particles increase its diameter with the humidity. So the sensors can't count really well the particle and overestimate the signal. So we can see if we apply a correction factor to the signal, we reduce the overestimations in the high humidity events. So what have we done in this work? Our aim is to develop a system that allows to measure nanoparticles in the context of a smart city, especially in a low emission zone. So we have tested 7 different hyperlocal sensors, and we have chosen the best ones. And then to the selected sensor, we have applied an artificial intelligence to improve the result of the sensors, to improve the data and guarantee data quality. And an important step is the validations of the sensors of our solutions against the reference measurement taken in our laboratory. So, about the results, we have computed 2 different metrics. The first one is the Pearson coefficients that measures the linear relationship between a real the reference measurement and the sensor and the bias. We can conclude that the best sensor is this one, the Winsen. So this one is selected because we have high Pearson coefficients for PM1 and PM2.5 and also a low bias. And also we have selected the AlphaSense OPC N3 because this sensor has a good interface to the user and it is possible to apply the humidity correction algorithm. So when we apply artificial intelligence, we see that the best results are obtained for the PM1 particles and also for the PM2.5. But for the PM10, the large particles, we obtain worse results, and the results are similar for AlphaSense and Winsen. So if we take the best model and the best sensor, we can see that we can obtain a good fit with the, sorry for the quality of the plot, a good fit with of the green signal, that is with artificial intelligence, and the blue one, that is the reference. So, and we obtain a coefficient of determination of 0.80. That is a high value that shows that our models will have a good performance in real situations. So, the conclusion of this work is that the Winsen 1 is the sensor with the best results in the market, while AlphaSense is the sensor that offers the best interface with the user. We have demonstrated that machine learning algorithms and humidity correction algorithms improve the performance of these hyperlocal sensors, and it is feasible to integrate this sensor and the algorithms in a whole device for monitoring nanoparticles in low emission zones. Also, we have observed that it exists a high error in the measurement of large particles that we need to overcome in future steps. And also, there are a set of new questions that has arisen for this work. Why the error increases when we measure large particles? What is happening with the diameter? Is it possible to optimize the AlphaSense OPC N3? I mean, applying rolling means, rounding decimals to improve the results, because this sensor allows us to apply all these options. Also, it is interesting if we can go beyond and apply deep learning to improve the results, and if it's possible to set a calibration in situ in order to avoid bias due to the chemical composition of the particles, because the chemical composition of the particles change a lot from one city to other city for several factors, and it could affect also to the performance of the sensor. And another important point is it is possible to determine which nanoparticles come from emission and which come from emission in order to provide information to the city to make the best decisions and act over the nanoparticles that come from emissions. So there are a set of future challenges that arise, So the first one is validate our solutions in a real context of low emission zones and a smart city. In fact, we are doing this at this moment in a project that we are doing with the city of Madrid, where we have installed 3 devices, and we are validating this with the air quality station, with the official air quality station of the city of Madrid. Also, it is important to develop an algorithm that classifies particles in function of its chemical compositions. And finally, I think an important part of all of this is to develop a platform that allows to the user, to the city and the citizens to check the air quality and the real values and the values in real time. This is from a pilot that we have performed in Molina of Segura, a city from Murcia, where we have developed a platform where citizens can check the values of nanoparticles. This is important because this makes easy the process of decision making and allows citizens to participate in the process of air quality measurements and air quality evaluations. And I think that is an important point because we enhance citizen change and we get citizens more involved. And I think that is a key factor in cities of future and in resilient cities. So thanks really much for your attention, and I want to thanks to my supervisors, Dr. Jesualdo Fernández-Breis and Dr. Antonio Jara Valera, and my colleague Iris Cuevas Martinez. And also I want to thank to the Seneca Foundation, the University of Murcia, and Hope Ubiquitos for the funding and make possible these works.
And we thank you also very much. Thank you. Okay, so now we'll be with our last speaker for this session, and she is Ms. Mahreen ALAM from the Institute of Agricultural and Resource Economics from the University of Agriculture in Faisalabad, and she will be talking about the impact of urbanization on the quality of natural resources and food security. So please, in 10 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you. Time is yours.
Miraba, and welcome to everyone. And I am here to talk about the impact of urbanization on the quality of natural resources and food security. This is the sequence of my presentation, how I will go through from the presentation. Everyone knows population is increasing. This is a natural phenomena. But in Pakistan, everyone has the chance to live in a reliable areas. But in Pakistan, the issue is this: the residential area is expanding horizontally as compared to vertically. That's why they are using more land, and the more land is coming under the residential area and reducing from the agricultural activities. That is why the food security problem is increasing. Pakistan is basically agricultural country, but with the passage of time, the horizontal expansion of residential areas, the per capita wheat, even wheat is a staple food in our nation, and wheat is reducing with the passage of time. Even in the last 5 years, the wheat yield per capita was more than our domestic needs, but now they are declining. This is the growth situation of my study area. As you can see, from 1952 to 2020, it is positively increasing. And this is a challenge, how to manage the growing population and provide a reliable residential areas. This is the impact, how urbanization is affecting our natural resources. First of all, that I have discussed, the residential areas is expanding horizontally, more land is coming under the residential area. And this is causing the lower recharge of underground water resources that are polluting our underground resources. The second one is population is growing, farmland is declining, so farmers are using more and more fertilizer and pesticide to increase their farm yield. And all these fertilizer and pesticides are leaching down, and groundwater quality is polluted due to heavy use of fertilizer and pesticide. Third is no proper sanitation system is available for the growing population, and all their waste are also dumping into the groundwater resources. And the growth of industries they are also not having any proper legislation to dump their waste material. They are dumping directly into the rivers and into the groundwaters that are polluting the groundwater quality. And for more urbanization, the deforestation is occurring. That is also a main cause of poor climate situation. How groundwater quality is affecting us? First of all, the declining climates, and the second is they are declining our wheat yield. It hampers their germination rate and reduce per acre yield. What are my objectives? The first objective of my study was to investigate the impact of urbanization on groundwater quality. The second is how groundwater quality is affecting our food security or wheat productivity. And third one, to suggest a suitable policy for our country. Methodology, first of all, this is my study area. You can see this is the Sahiwal district, and these are the areas where I have conducted this study. Basically, to check the impact of urbanization on groundwater quality and wheat resources, I created 3 stratum. That is from 1 to 10 kilometer and 10 to 20 kilometer away from the urban areas and 20 to 30 kilometers away from the residential area. My total sample size was 300, and I have collected 100, 100, and 100 sample from each strata. The next, these are some field activities that I have conducted with my team. And to check how the input factors are contributing to produce output, I have implied the Cobb-Douglas production function, and how the quality is affecting the efficiency of inputs. I have used the efficiency analysis, and to highlight the impact of particularly poor groundwater quality, I use the Tobit model. What are these are some standards provided by the World Health Organization for the irrigation purpose and these are also given by acceptable in the international standards. These are some results from my study area. I have collected 300 samples, and I test their water at the point when I have collected their data. You can see, you can see this is a location that is nearest to the urban area. As we coming away from the urban area, our groundwater quality become improving. And similarly, in the pH factor, as we away from the, you can say there is a negative relationship with the quality and the urban area. As we moving away from the residential or urban areas, our natural resources are getting better. These are some descriptive. You can see more or less all the factors like age, year of schooling, experience, family size, own area are same in all the 3 locations. The only difference is groundwater quality. This is the yield, like you can see at location 1, the per acre yield was 36.57%. As we're moving away, the yield is increasing. The Cobb-Douglas production function that show how all the input factors like tillage, irrigation, fertilizer, seed quantity, and labor cost, how they are affecting our yield. And you can see particularly in irrigations, as we away from the urban areas, they are giving positive benefits. When you are applying the negative or poor groundwater for your irrigations, your output automatically decline, because wheat is not very much salinity absorbed. That's why. These are the technical efficiency. I have made the technical and economic efficiency, how they are efficiently using. You can see from there, this is, the red one is for location 1. You can see as we moving from the important, better situation, the number is declining. And in case of location 3, you can see as we going from down, their number is, it's mean 29 farmers at the location 1 are fully efficient because they have good groundwater quality. All the other factors like that are same, like their tillage and other all input factors are same. These are the economic efficiency. You can see the same behavior is over there. These are the Tobit model. I have used the Tobit model when your dependent variable is lying between 2 values. When the dependent variable is censored, you have to apply the Tobit model. It shows how you can see the distance from city as increasing. They are positive relationship. When you are going away from the residential area, your efficiency improved of all the inputs that you have used. Now concluding my study, you can see this is near the residential area, our natural resources are badly affecting due to our own activities. So the location 3, where no people were living, the situation of groundwater quality was better and their efficiencies was also better. And Tobit model also shows that the poor groundwater quality is reducing the crop yield. So I conclude that except expanding the residential in a horizontal way, we have to adopt the vertical expansion of our urban residential areas. And the main issue is there are no proper sanitation system in my study area. If government provide proper sanitation system, the leaching of the hazardous material could be minimized. We cannot clean all the groundwater resources, but it is difficult now, but we can make it sure that we will not make it more contaminated anymore. Thank you so much. That's all from my side. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Mahreen, for this important presentation. I'm looking, we are over time, unfortunately, so our dear participants, if you have any question, you can ask our speakers outside, maybe in the lobby or during lunch. It was really a very fruitful and successful session. I would like to thank all our professors, doctors, and students, speakers in this session. And it's time to distribute the certificates by presentation orders. So thank you very much.